This is for Topic 16, lesson number 3, called line plots. And as we mentioned before in the other lessons for this topic, there are different kinds of graphs, and this is another one. And everyone has its own unique use depending on the material or information you're using. And a line plot, it organizes, it puts together data on a number line, and it's useful for showing visually how data is distributed, that is spread out, and how it's all right there for you to see. So we're going to be using number lines to help us for these line plots. The vocabulary, again, line plot itself, as I said, it's a way to display or show the data along a number line. And we've used number lines before, and now here's another way to help us see how information is put all together. And then we have the word outlier. Now, outlier right here is a new word for us. And it's any number that is very different than the rest of the numbers. You might see something that you see the same answers over and over, and then all of a sudden you've got one that's different than the others. And that one would be called the outlier. Maybe one that's way higher than all the others or way lower, but it's not near the other numbers. And we'll show you that when we come to our first line plot. So let's say we went to our students and we said, okay, how many students have a pet at home? And they could have any kinds of pets. It could be dogs, rabbits, snakes, whatever. It didn't matter. We just wanted to know, all right, if you have a pet, great, and how many do you have? So let's say there were 15 students in the class that actually have pets. And so we want to know, all right, great. Let's say if you had one pet, or maybe some of them had 3 pets, or 4, or even, 5 pets. And so we could kind of put it all together here. So let's say the number of students that had one pet would be, we'll say, 5. And so we went around and asked, okay, if you have 3 pets, and we're going to say 4 there. And how many people had 4 pets? There's 4 that had that. And 5, we're going to say that there were 2 people. Okay, so if we did this right, let's see if we did. There should be a total of 15. So if we go back and we take a look, we have these 2, which is 9, these 2, which is 6. So yes, we have 15 students in all that were questioned, that said, yes, I have a pet. And some of them had 1, some of them had 3, some had 4, some had 5. So here we are, we have our chart. Now we want to go ahead and take this data and put it on a line plot itself. So here's what we have. Okay, well, what does this mean? Well, here's our number line. And the ones that had, one pet, we're going to do that. So we can go back and say, okay, if you had one pet, there was 5 of them. So we go back to here, and we look. And all we're going to do is we're going to put X's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 people who had one pet. So that's how we signify that that information. So we go back and we look, were there any that had 2? Nope. But there are people who had 3 number pets. There was actually 4. So we go back over to here and we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Easy enough. We go back to our chart here. How many had 4 pets? Well, there was 4 people who had 4 pets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. We go back and we have 5. Yes, we do. We have 2 people who had 5. So there we are. We have our line plot. And it really helps us see kind of where all the numbers lie. And in this case, it's pretty easy. You can see how they just consistently are all together. On this line plot, there really isn't what I would consider an outlier. Now, an outlier, in my case, in my example here, I would say, let's say there was one person that had 8 pets. That would be an outlier. That'd be way out here, not close to these others over here. So we don't really have a great example there. Or let's say someone had 10 pets. I mean, that's way off the chart. But in this case, we can see exactly how a line plot works. Now, I want you to draw a line plot with this data. Are there any outliers? So pause and take a chance, take some time to look at these numbers down here and put them on a line plot. And after you pause and you do it, come back. Okay, so does yours look like this? Hopefully you went ahead and you did your line plot and you have your numbers all right here. So you can see here right below I've got 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and so on all the way up to 21. And I would go back and say, okay, look, I've got 2 17s. And that's what I have right here. I have 2 17s. And if I go back, I have 1 16, and that's exactly what I have here, 1 16. And here's an 18, so you go back and, yep, just 1 18. And then I have a 21, so I go and, yep, way over here is my 21. Then I have this guy right here, this 10, and he's way over here. So the majority of my questions, when I asked people whatever the survey was, and it doesn't, in this case it doesn't really matter what the questions were, but I found that most of my group were right here. But then I've got these two guys. I've got one way out here and one way up high. These are our outliers. And that means they just lie way outside where the most people are at. So 10, I would say, is way smaller than the big group, and 21 is a bit higher than the others, but not that far away. 10 is the one that just sticks out like almost like a sore thumb, just by itself. That's our outliers. So that is how you do a line plot. Now create your own line plot and show us what it looks like. Good luck.